Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Things, where we take a closer look at God and science. Today will not disappoint either. Today was a lot of fun to look at and research. So, Jamie, you have heard of the story Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, this is a story about a town. It's obviously a made-up story, but a town that depends on the weather to deliver its daily food. So literally, it rains cheeseburgers or pickles or orange juice. All that stuff comes from the sky, right? So we think that's kind of crazy because you would never imagine weird things like that.
I've never had cheeseburgers rain down on me in the midst of a weather storm, but there are some occurrences of some really weird weather things that happen. Like, for instance, did you know that there was a town that had hail so large it was the size of like a playground ball or kickball?
Wow.
Can you even imagine? Like, we talk about like pea-sized hail, baseball-sized hail. This would be like kickball-sized hail.
I can't imagine the damage because, you know, I mean, you go out after a regular hailstorm and you're like, oh, there's little, you know.
Yeah, I don't think your car would survive it.
I don't think I would survive it. Can you imagine walking along?
Nope.
Watch out. So, yeah, large size hail falling from the sky. Or how about a snow donut?
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious, but it's not actually a donut.
Oh.
Nor does it fall from the sky. The snow does, but when it gets to the ground, it essentially becomes like a tumbleweed and blows through the ground. So as it's blowing through the ground, it's like essentially rolling itself into a snowman. However, the middle remains hollow. So it looks like this circle, like a donut rolling across the ground.
I would like to see that someday.
Yeah.
All right, but what about this? Have you ever seen a lightning ball?
Ooh.
So we picture lightning as something that comes down from the sky, hits the earth, or sometimes we just see like the flash.
Yeah.
This would be a ball, almost like a fireball in the sky that lightning is coming like out. Never comes down. Just
like an explosion,
almost like a firework type of thing.
Yeah. Well, we started this lesson with random things falling from the sky, like in the Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs. How about fish and frogs falling from the sky?
I've heard it be raining cats and dogs before, but
nope,
never.
This one's fish and frogs. So scientists believe that this happens when a tornado or really strong storm, a hurricane, something like that, ends up picking things up from the ground and goes along. And as it loses strength, what goes up must come down. So fish and frogs.
So it picked up the fish and frogs from like a river or something.
Wherever they were. One occurrence was in Mexico, the other one was in Serbia, but it literally rained fish, frogs. Yeah.
All right, last one. You just mentioned a tornado picking up like fish and frogs. What about a tornado that picks up fire?
Ooh, okay, so we know what a tornado is. Tornadoes usually in like rainy, stormy weather, right? We also know what a wildfire is, right? When it's hot and dry and all of a sudden combustion. Well, what if a tornado and a wildfire mixed? You get a fire-nado.
Fire-nado, yes. Fire-nado is exactly what it sounds like. It's a fire tornado. So
I can't
in the
imagine.
midst of a wildfire, a tornado, high winds pick it up, and it essentially creates a tornado out of fire. And they can be small.
Like 2 inches.
Yep. Or they can be really, really big, like almost a football field size.
500
big.
feet. Can you imagine?
Large. Now, I don't want to be in any tornado.
Nope.
I especially don't think I want to get stuck in a fire-nado.
So why are we talking weird weather? Because in the midst of all of these strange and weird and probably what we consider bad things, we take a closer look and sometimes we ask ourselves, where is God in all of this? Like, why are these bad things happening? Why would a fire-nado occur? Why would a hailstorm like that occur?
Well, and as the title of our series suggests, all things, God is in the good as well as in the bad. We can look at these natural disasters and be like, where's God? But we know that God is with us, with people, in the bad as well as in the good. And in fact, we know that we are commanded to praise God in the bad as well as in the good.
So, talking fire-nado, can you imagine being around something so hot? Well, if you ask Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they sure can tell you firsthand what it's like to be around fire that hot. So they obviously were not going to follow the rules of the king and bow down and worship somebody else. They knew to stick true to the one true God, and so they were punished for it. They were thrown into a fiery furnace, right?
Right. Not just any fiery furnace, so one that was turned up extra hot.
Extra hot. So much so that the guards walking them to it died on contact. They were toast.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but once they were put into the fiery furnace, people didn't see 3 people, they saw 4, because God was with them, even in the fiery furnace. And so we see right there in the Bible how God is with his people in all things, the good, the bad, and the really ugly, or the really hot, that God is with them at all things. It is our duty to thank, praise, to give God glory in the bad things as well as in the good times.
So, with that being said, we hope that you are never caught in weird, strange, or uncontrollable type of weather or these, fish and frogs phenomenons. But we do hope that you remember that God is with you in all things, even in the fire. So join us next week as we take another closer look at God and science and just how he is in all things.